Welcome to your third Java tutorial. And in the last tutorial we looked at data types really quickly. And if you're a bit unsure about data types, don't worry. In this tutorial everything will be cleared up and you'll know exactly what data types are, and you'll be telling all your friends and explaining to them what data types are. So in the last video I gave the analogy of material and a building construction site and metal and concrete and all that sort of stuff. What I'm going to do in this tutorial is tell you what is actually happening when you're writing this code. So I'm going to start off here with int whole number. So what is actually happening is you're telling the computer to reserve some space in its memory for some data to be used at a later time. So in this statement you're saying, hey computer, I want to use some of your memory, I want to borrow it. The computer's like, okay, cool. What is it that you want to borrow? And you tell them, okay, I want a whole number, so that's this. So you're telling it, I want an int, which is a whole number, and I'm going to reference it, I'm going to call it whole number. Is that alright? And the computer's like, oh sure, no problem. I'll reserve that spot for you and I'll name it whole number for you so that you remember it later. And you're like, okay, sweet. Later on, you're like, okay, well, I'm actually going to do something with whole number. So you say, hey computer, you remember how I reserved that place for whole number? And the computer's like, yeah. And then you say, well, give it the value of 4. And the computer's like, no worries. And if you think of like a little cubby hole, now think of the number 4 in big letters in that cubby hole whose name is whole number. And the computer's like, okay, sweet, that's done. So that's basically what happens when we write this statement. This is exactly the same as what we were doing before. So before we were doing it in one line instead of 2. So we're saying, hey computer, we want to reserve some space, call it whole number, and we want to assign it the value of 4. And the computer's like, no worries. I sort of think about this as like a bank and the safety deposit box, where like you tell the bank, okay, name the safety deposit box, in this case whole number, and place the value of 4 in it. And the bank's like, okay, no problem. The computer's the same. It places the value of 4 into whole number. And this is the same concept when it comes to double whatever. You can name it whatever here. I'm just going to do, you can even call it like ham equals, and remember double is for decimal points, so it has to be like a decimal point, and that's it. And at the end of every time you want to say something, it's like, do you know how when you tell someone to do something for you, like, hey mum, can you make me a sandwich, you always have to say please at the end. Think about these semicolons are the same. If you don't say please, your mum gets really angry. The computer's the same. If you don't say please at the end, if you don't put a semicolon at the end, then the computer gets really angry and it doesn't want to work and it doesn't do what you want it to do. So always remember to say please at the end. So, hey computer, please reserve this spot, and the computer's like, sure. And that's why you put a little semicolon at the end. Okay, cool. Now, what we can actually do is we can take this a step further. We can say, hey computer, who's like, yeah, like I have a tricky task for you. Computer's like, okay. You say, I want to reserve this spot, call it whole number, and the computer's like, okay, what do you want to put in there? And you say, well, I'm going to make it a little bit tricky. I'm going to say 4 plus 5. And the computer's like, okay, I know what 4 plus 5 is. It's 9. So do you want 9 to be put in there? And you're like, yep, that's exactly what I want. So you can actually do this, 4 plus 5, or any number for that matter, 5 plus 5. So computer's like, okay, I want a new challenge. And you say, okay, cool. What's the new challenge? Okay, we're gonna do this. Int I equals 5. Int second number equals 5. Please. Computer's like, okay, I already know that one. That's easy. All you're doing is reserving some space, calling it first and second number, and giving it the value of 5. That's easy. But you're like, I want to challenge your computer. So you say int third number equals, and the computer's like, okay, what are you going to do here? And you write something clever like this. Okay, so what do you guys think is going to happen here? Well, because this is only a reference to what is actually inside the safety deposit box, like in the bank, and what is actually in memory for the computer, this is actually representing 5. So what you're actually saying is, hey, computer, reserve some space, call it third number, that's the reference number, but give it whatever is associated with first number and plus whatever is associated with second number. So you're saying third number equals 5 plus 5. So it's exactly the same as what we did up here, but you're actually doing it using a reference instead of actually giving the exact number, and that comes in handy throughout programming, and that's one of the programming cool things about programming. It would work the same as if you just, so that's going to equal 10 right now, because that's 5 plus 5. If I got rid of second number and said third number just wants to be a copycat and be like the first number, then third number would actually equal 5 as well in this situation. And it's the same, you can say minus second number, and that would of course equal 0, because 5 minus 5 is 0. There is also multiply, which is the star, so shift 8, and there's also divide. So that's it for your third tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and you guys should know data types and how to use data types and how to declare data types now as well. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and see you in the next tutorial.